Right, these can be utilised for testing iPhones, and basically I've got both of them. Particularly, I got this because of the older support for the older phone, so that starts from iPhone 4G all the way up to iPhone X. The only downside with this versus this one is that it's vice versa, but the first downside is that this doesn't support any of the older models of the phone. So the very oldest that you can see here is iPhone 6 basically, and then it goes up to iPhone X. And whereas with this, the plus side of it is that you got the benefit of sort of going down up to iPhone 4 basically. But the only downside with this is that it doesn't have the option to power switch, so you've got to put the board back into the housing and the power button flex or the USB flex, and then you've got to sort of either charge it or hit the power button to sort of enable and test the board after a say for example a liquid damage or whatever it is. But whereas with this particular one, you can keep the board lying around on the outside of the phone and just hook the LCD up and connect one of them to the appropriate phone that you're repairing, and just providing the power is on, you just hit that power switch and then it'll just power up the unit. So if there is further issues on the board that needs troubleshooting, you can quite obviously don't need to go through the hassle of putting everything back together and then having to take the board out again. And especially if you've got a busy day, every minute counts. So you want to sort of save as much as time possible in reassembling it and then dismantling it again and then putting it back together again, and so on and so forth. But however, I decided to get both of them. The only downside with not only the other downside with this is that you've got to do all the soldering yourself. They do come with heat shrink and everything wrapped here, as you can see. But all the cables, there's how many cables is there altogether? Let's have a look. I think there's 4 cables altogether. 4 cables. Okay, and it's done properly. Make sure you do get the wiring sort of soldered in the right direction, and it's all sort of written here. Okay, so the VCC is red, DM is white, DP is green, and ground is black. So make sure you sort of follow this and sort of there's markings on here: VCC, DM, DP, and ground. So just follow that and then nice and gently apply the heat shrink. The other thing to point out is that this eventually comes off the sticker. So what I might end up doing is putting a bit of a double-sided tape in between that gap and then just close it off, and that will prevent it from coming away. Look, that's just a typical example, which is a bit of a pain on the ass, but what do you do? Okay, so that's one cable, and that supports the iPhone X and the iPhone 8 Plus. This one is for the 6. Again, it's been soldered nicely. I have tested one of the leads, not all of them yet. Where's the other lead? That's the third lead, but the third lead, one of the lead out of the 4 does contain 2 crocodile clip. I've attached the iPhone 6 connector, PCB connector on it, and that's the last one, which is for the iPhone 7 and 7 Plus. Okay, let's sort of but I mean, even if you lose them, it's no big deal because it's already written here, iPhone P, which stands for iPhone. Can you see what I'm doing? Yeah, there you go. So I wouldn't worry too much about this basically. And then the main box. Now, right, sorry, I don't know how much you can get this. Now the main box. Okay, the thing to remember is that when I first started try to utilize the box, I made a stupid mistake, and my bench power supply was set at 5 volt at 2 amp. And yes, it would power the phone up by clicking this button. The light was on, but when I was hitting the power switch, it wasn't doing anything. It just wouldn't do anything. So I assumed that it was faulty. But when I read through the manual carefully enough, and on the back of the unit, it does say the recommended voltage is 3.8 volt to 4.2. So that's the recommended voltage. What I did is I've set the bench power supply to in between, so say 4 volt DC, and bingo, switch on, cables attached to the phone, hit the button, and it powered up the phone beautifully. So that's awesome. That, you know, I was in the process of returning it because I assumed automatically that it's faulty, but it was not faulty. Actually, it was my stupidity. Now coming back onto the W103 Plus, that's all sort of embedded into, you know, like, well, it's already attached to the main unit here, so as you can see. And there's how many? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 cables for 8 different sort of, I'd say 6 different phones. 6, no, more than that, because each cable contains 2. Let's have a look, hang on, let me get my facts right here. No, that's right. Okay, so some contains 2, some others contain 1. So that cable contains 1, that cable contains 2, support for 2 different phones. But anyway, all together you've got these, so it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 leads with 13 different, I wouldn't say 13 leads in total, but there's 13 different things that can be done with it, basically, because each cable can contain 2 different attachments with it, you know. So that's that. And how much did I pick this up for? I picked this up off eBay for £15 in the UK. You can pick them up from China for a lot less, but I just wanted it. I'm not bothered sort of messing around. This was on again from eBay. I think it was about £22. They normally go for about 25. Some sellers are selling it for 32, 30 odd quid in the UK. I bought this off eBay for £22, and it was delivered within a day or 2. So that was great. That okay. But yep. Again, this at the back of this has, you got your banana clip that goes into your bench power supply. Just be careful with the crocodile clip on both of these units while you're using it, is that they do tend to short themselves out if you're not careful. So when you leave it dangling like this, sort of on your bench, you can have a short. You know, you can have it you can have both of them attaching, you know, touching one another and causing a short, which has happened to me basically. And the bench power supply was sort of cutting out the supply. So what I've done is, this is why I put a bit of a sellotape over it, because I have been using this in the past quite regularly, up until to the point where I bought the Ipower. So, but this hasn't retired. It will be utilised, absolutely. There's no doubt about that. It will be utilised. I'm going to put this back, and that's it really. In my opinion, they're both. In my opinion, this is better. I wish it had support for older phones. If it did, then I would have bought this only. That's it. There's no need for me to have this basically. But for what it's worth, it's no big deal. That's all really. Take care. Thank you. Bye bye.